We're here because Congressman Ginta he's sponsored many bills that are friendly to firearms owners. He's written all kinds of letters back to the administration opposing their executive orders and actions on things that would harm firearms owners in the Second Amendment. But the specific bill that we're here to talk about today, H.R. 4928, is very specific to New Hampshire firearms dealers because it rips down the barriers across state lines that prevent you from buying a gun out of state and prevent people like Jim and Carrie from selling handguns and rifles, in some cases rifles, mostly handguns, to non-residents. There's no reason for that. It's an archaic statute. It's very prejudicial. If you can legally buy a gun in your home state, you should be legally able to buy it anywhere else. And what's nice about New Hampshire is no sales tax, right? So buy more guns. I'm not going to talk a lot about the bill because I want to introduce Mike Hammond, who is General Counsel of Gun Owners of America, and he is one of our consulting attorneys, and he can talk about specifics of the bill, and then I want to turn it over to Congressman Ginta, and he can talk about why he feels so strongly about protecting our rights. So, Mike, if you want to say a couple words.
Congressman Ginta, my name is Michael Hammond. I'm Legislative Counsel of Gun Owners of America. On behalf of 1.5 million law-abiding firearms owners, we want to thank you for introducing H.R. 4928, a bill which would repeal the interstate gun ban, which has existed since 1968. We favor repealing the interstate gun ban for three reasons. First of all, it's unconstitutional. The Bill of Rights guarantees don't stop at the state line. You can't be denied the right to go to the church of your choice in Maine because you're not a resident there. You can't be tortured in Massachusetts because you're not a resident there, although some would say that being in Massachusetts is torture. The Bill of Rights doesn't stop at the state line, and for this reason, the interstate gun ban is unconstitutional. We also believe that it's ineffectual and useless. I was, not to give away my age, but I was in ROTC, junior ROTC, during the Vietnam era. And we 14-year-old kids, in uniform, out of uniform, in formation, out of formation, walked through the hallways, the sidewalks, and the playgrounds of our ghetto high school, 14-year-old kids out of uniform with our semi-automatic M1s, which were issued to us, and no one came to the conclusion that we were going to shoot up the school. The year after I graduated, the Gun Control Act, containing this gun ban for interstate sales, was passed into law, and it presaged the greatest crime wave in the history of this country. New York City went up to 2,100 homicides a year. Washington, D.C. went from 100 or so to 500 homicides per year. The statute didn't work, and in fact, it was probably counterproductive. And incidentally, Barack Obama might want to pay attention, given that he wants to take the drug traffickers who were so instrumental in that crime wave and put them on the streets to sell heroin at the same time as he wants to take away our guns.
Thank you very much, Mike. I want to thank the New Hampshire Firearms Coalition, as well as Gun Owners of America, and our hosts for having us here today. New Hampshire has a rich tradition of supporting the Second Amendment, and I think it's very simple. The 27 words of the Second Amendment are not a suggestion, and that's the way we need to continue to interpret our constitutional rights. And in keeping with that mindset, we looked at this legislation from two perspectives. First, a Second Amendment right. Secondly, from an economic standpoint. And I think that's important for us to signify. While I have had differences of opinion with this president on many issues, including Second Amendment issues, we cannot allow people to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. But we also need to understand and comprehend the importance economically to our state. We are no sales tax, no income tax state. And the bill that I filed is very, very simple. If you are an out-of-state resident, you can come to New Hampshire, whether you're vacationing, whether you're hunting, whether you want to come and purchase a firearm. My legislation would allow you to do so. Very simply, you cannot do that today. If you're a resident of Vermont, come to New Hampshire, you cannot buy a firearm and leave the state and go to your home state. As Alan said, it's an archaic law. It is an infringement on our Second Amendment rights. You should be able to make that purchase. And you should be able to return your home state, abiding by the laws of the state in which you purchased the firearm or your home state. It should be very simple. This doesn't change any background check requirements. That still exists as it would with any purchase. So I am very pleased, I was very pleased to introduce the legislation. We are growing the co-sponsor list. I think it's incredibly important for us to ensure that we are proactive in supporting and protecting our Second Amendment rights. But also on the economic side, we have a little over 1,600 jobs in New Hampshire that are directly related to the firearms industry. In terms of wages that our employers, our small business owners produce, annually it's about $125 million. And we don't often talk about the economic impact, but this is a very impactful component of our economy in New Hampshire. We think of New Hampshire as a tourism state, and we are. But part of our tourism is people wanting to come to our state and visit a number of our locations that sell firearms, and they want to be able to purchase those firearms and return to their home state. There's no reason that I can think of that you should not be able to do that. So I want to see economic growth. I want to see the opportunity for individuals to continue great businesses like the one we're here, Shooters Outpost. But equally important is protecting Second Amendment rights. And this, to me, is a very common sense change in the law that, again, would allow your friends and neighbors from other states to come to New Hampshire, purchase a firearm, and abide by, if they choose to go back to their home state with it, abide by their home state laws or New Hampshire law, and be able to do so. So I am very pleased to introduce it. We are working with my colleagues in the House to try to get this common sense legislation to the floor and try to get it passed, and then encourage the United States Senate to take up this legislation as well. But to me, it's again, very simple. I will always protect our Second Amendment rights. It's something that is near and dear to many people's hearts. I was very privileged in my first term to actually, when House members decided to read the Constitution for the first time on the floor of the House of Representatives, I was privileged to be the individual that got to read the Second Amendment. And I thought that was very apropos, given that we are the live free or die state. And it meant something to me, and I can tell you there were a lot of members who were jealous that I actually got the chance to read that portion of the Constitution. So I want to thank again all of you for coming, for supporting this legislation. I think it's important that we communicate to our friends and neighbors the importance of this legislation, not just from a Second Amendment standpoint, but also from an economic standpoint, and the benefits that our state can derive from the growth of this industry. So again, thank you all for being here, and thank you for your efforts in protecting the Second Amendment. And I'd be happy to chat, open it up to any questions or comments from others.